Close to 7:29.
Let's roll.
This is like the LAFCO meeting last
Okay.
night.
That clock out there does say 7:30.
The one up there. All right, we are reconvening from closed session for the regular meeting of the Granada Sanitary District for Thursday, February 20th, 2014. And during closed session,
No reportable action was taken.
thank you. General public participation.
How about roll call?
Oh, yeah. I forgot we were already here, but. Yes, we are. Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Vice President Larry Warren.
Present.
Secretary Jim Leonard.
Here.
Treasurer James Keaton.
Here.
Director Rick Bowman.
Here.
At the table is General Manager Chip Duffy and Legal Counsel Jonathan Whitler and the Administrator Julie Smith.
All right, now, general public participation. I don't see any general public present. Does anyone have any items they'd like to discuss that are not on the agenda?
I was gonna, I think the only two things, just to go on the record, I think that, one, I just wanted to bring up, in terms of consolidation, that, I know that there's been different things written, and LAFCO's asked us to discuss it and try to work with, other boards, and to me, I think that, it's a complicated issue, but at the end of the day, to me, the strategy that gets everyone in the same direction that we could work towards or trying to figure out is getting everyone in the same geographical building, and that's outside of any financial agreements or anything else. I think whether it's a building like this with different or at the sand plant or anywhere else, to me, I think the strategy that everyone needs to be looking at is it's going to be a much more effective sanitary district on the coast if we're just, working closely together. And I think that, to me, that's kind of what I think of when I hear consolidation in terms of, and so I just kind of wanted to go on the record and put that out there in terms of, other things that could be discussed, and so that's what I wanted to touch on that.
Well, that's an opinion that's not widely shared.
Well, we can't debate this.
Okay,
It's
it's
not on the
public.
agenda, so
We can't even discuss this.
if people want to put it on the agenda, that can happen usually near the end of the meeting.
Well, we appointed the committee. Who was on that committee?
Well, let's not discuss it though.
All right, regular agenda, item 1, consideration of nominations to elect special district member of San Mateo LAFCO, and I actually asked that this would be on the agenda. At the time, I thought I would very likely be able to go to this meeting, but I have a probable work conflict, so I would like to appoint Director Lohman, if he's willing.
Well, actually, that has to be done by the board, the appointment. And it actually was done in December, and it was Director Loman. But Chuck and I were just talking about this. The minutes got it confused. Item 4 was for CSDA, and there was an appointment about that. Item 5 was for the Select Committee, and there was an appointment, Director Loman. But right at the end of the minutes, it said for the CSDA. Again, okay?
So let's correct the minutes.
Well, no, I think it would be better at this point to just act on it tonight. Again, it's on our agenda, but it's the board, the state law says that it's the board that appoints the alternate for the select.
We'll have to have someone make a motion to appoint.
Rick, so you know my concerns. You think it's okay for you to be the voting member? All right, I move that we appoint Rick to attend the Special District Selection Committee and vote if, in fact, the board president can't make it.
Do we have a second? All right, do we have any discussion? We've already done this, but, yes.
I think that Director Loman is going to need something in writing from
Yes, it'd be best to put it in writing.
the meeting, so if
Yes, he absolutely needs it. It says from LAFCO, alternates should bring a minute order or letter from the district, and I did look back at the minutes, and I didn't see that this had been clearly done either, so we need a letter from the district documenting that he's been appointed.
Yeah,
And
it should be easy.
it doesn't,
And it should probably have your signature on it.
yeah, this doesn't designate who should sign it, but I certainly will. All right. All right. Item number 2.
You actually have to vote.
Oh, we have to vote. Oh, we already did this, though.
Hey, but we keep mixing this up with the CSDA item for whatever, and I don't feel so bad because it's obviously bad enough that Martha includes it in her letter now. This has nothing to do with the
Yes,
CSDA.
she's been very
So we're not
adamant
the
about it.
only district doing it.
Two groups.
In past
Oh,
years,
yeah,
the
that's-
selection committee used to meet at the same time as one of the chapter meetings, and because of the confusion, Martha changed the dates so they don't coincide with the chapter meetings.
So all in favor of
We need a second.
We did, we got Jim Blanchard.
Jim seconded, all those in favor of the motion? Say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Passes unanimously. Item number 2, consideration of district website design and content. I'm just going to open this up to comment for everyone, anyone who's seen the, call it a draft website that Chuck sent us all. Do we have comments?
I didn't see it. Was that
It was
in-
emailed to you last night, probably
Okay.
6:30ish, like that.
In general, I like it. It's nice and clean and everything's there. And I think Delia had some comments of additional things, and anything we add to it is fine.
Well, I sent Chuck a long list of
Okay.
comments.
I'd like to see the parks thing emphasized a little more, was my comment. We have a tab at the top says CSD. I'm guessing
What-
half the
the
people
new-
out there don't even know what a CSD means.
The new version has, on our homepage, has our little blurb about the district, and then right below it, I don't know why you guys didn't see it, because it came up on mine.
Oh,
Right
You're
below it
special.
it says, I don't know, breaking news or something news, recent news, and it gives an explanation, of one paragraph explanation. And at the end of that,
You probably have to scroll
it
down to
says-
see that.
Do you? Okay, maybe I'll push it up above the,
Because for the next 4 months, we just want everybody to see
Right.
that. And
so I'll push
here's
that
what's
up
happening.
above about the district then, and then it has a link that says if you want any more information, go to the page, and it links to our actual page, so I'll just move that up.
This reminds me of one comment I forgot to include in my long list of comments to you. In general, unless a web page has a long list of repetitive items, it should be all contained such that you don't have to scroll it. So pages that are long, you figure out how to break up the material into multiple pages, because people don't like to scroll web pages. And of course, at this point, we don't have any, but left-right scrolling, I think, is grounds for disconnection from the net.
No, we don't have any of that.
What are the financials of it?
It's got its own tab.
No, how much it's costing and monthly, do we know all that?
Monthly, no.
In terms of who's designing, are you designing it?
Well,
or-
I designed it because.
Okay, so we're
We
not
had a
paying
week and a
website
half to
designer.
get it up.
Okay.
So we based it on one of my San Diego district's
Okay.
websites, and I try and keep these things, we're not a company selling anything, obviously, so I try and limit the number of click-throughs. And, I say, what's someone coming on our website for? Well,
Yeah.
generally, on the page, you can get our
Download.
address and a bunch of things. If you want anything about the finance, the budgets, and the audits, that's a tab.
All the agendas is a
That kind
tab.
of stuff. The agendas, minutes, that's what people, I've seen other websites, they bury those agendas and minutes sometime in these weird places, and,
Fire
why are you
district?
coming on a sewer district site? You want to see the contact information, an agenda, or a budget. And that's pretty much it. There's other people who want other things, and they can find that. but-
The one thing is that you took the comment about sewer overflows, call Sam, that's not on the homepage. I had it on the homepage.
Okay, and I can put it back there certainly, because I've got it on the contact us page and I've got it.
Yeah, I think-
Place.
I thought, doesn't that notification run across the bottom of the photograph on the homepage?
I don't remember.
Not,
I thought it did, but my comment is, I thought, like, as Rick said, I think it's nice and clean and functional and,
We just want something that's easy to update. it's
Therefore
clean,
perfect.
Everything's there.
yes.
well, the operative question is, and I kind of went back and forth with Chuck on this, and I'm not real comfortable with the answer at this point, but I think we have to have a website where our in-office staff here can put up, at the very least, the agendas and minutes and the quarterly thing.
Right,
And my recommendation on that would be WordPress, I think.
that's what we used.
Okay, is that what it is? Okay.
So is your intent to go drop WordPress onto our sonic.net site and transfer all the content there?
I have no idea.
I would say just my experience with that is to leave it as a legacy site, you know, whatever, for whether you create a new URL and then we go to that one or switch them over.
We are not creating a new URL, period.
Well, yeah, and this is exactly
Not
the
gonna
technical stuff I didn't want to discuss.
Yeah,
because I'm
yeah.
not a technical guy, and my IT people will know how to do this, but it's still gonna go to granada.ca.gov, so
Mhm.
that, it's on a temporary site right
Yeah.
now, that's gonna be moved over to granada.ca.gov.
Mm.
And remember, like I said in my beginning of my email with the link, you know, this isn't a static operation. We're not approving this right now for all time. This is the base one. I think we want to get this up so it's a nice, clean
Get a start.
presentation that people coming to our website can go to it and click through things and get stuff on the CSD, because I think that's what a lot of people will be going for in the next 3 months up until the June vote. So I think the goal is to get this up now, so, you know, we have this nice, clean presentation and people can get the information they need to, you know, make informed. I already have it.
Okay, I did a couple tabs.
Did you get a chance to read through my comments?
Yes,
Are there any that you have a problem with?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So send your comments to me, and, you know, with the board's blessing here, you know, I actually looked at our policy. It turns out I have complete discretionary power over all aspects of the website, so.
I think that's the next agenda item.
Exactly. I don't know if I want it.
Yeah, it's all on you.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you're all good with the format, what I'll do is I'll incorporate all your comments within whatever the next week, and then once I've got all your stuff, I'll make it go live with that new format, and we'll move forward.
One other thing that I forgot. Somebody, either you or the website builder, needs to go try it with a bunch of different web browsers.
We've already done that,
Okay.
and we're still in the process of doing that. Because
All right.
I've tried it on a Mac, I've tried it on an iPad, iPhone. I
Well,
haven't
that's
tried.
not what I meant.
I know, I haven't tried Mozilla yet, I haven't tried some of the other stuff, so.
It works on Mozilla.
It works on those all.
Yes, on Windows, you know.
And we've got Safari, so.
I was just gonna say, is there any social media plan to go with that in terms of,
We're walking before we run.
Good plan.
I have somebody
And we
who-
can talk about that later on, David. I'm not,
Yeah.
you know, real up on that stuff, so it sounds
Yeah.
like you're
Yeah.
far more than I
I
am.
mean, you know,
I have no
I
problem
think,
doing it.
yeah, I think, you know, there's some good examples, other, you know, districts that we can kind of follow in terms of, I think it's free, it's really about creating an update schedule, you know, what are, you know, who's gonna send it out and what types of, you know, announcements and things that's consistent, I think,
Yeah.
other than that, that's all it is.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's free and it's
Especially
just-
getting the message out
Yeah,
for the Parks and Rec
meetings,
stuff.
anything like that.
Can you provide pointers to staff to distribute to the rest of the board on a few examples? Because personally, I'm aware of like 1 or 2 government agencies doing social media, and off the top of my head, I can't even name them. I don't think it's very widespread, and I don't think it ever will be. So I want to see some examples before
Yeah.
we spend any
Well,
resources.
I mean,
if we're pushing parks, everything's good.
Right, right. It's another means of
Have a
communication.
Facebook page, just.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it for the sewer district because no one's gonna follow the sewer district. You might follow Parks and Rec to find out about events and things like that, so.
Good idea.
All right, so send me your comments, I'll incorporate them and I'll make it go live within the next week. All right?
All right.
So I'm gonna go try it with, I was only looking at it with Firefox, so I'm gonna try it with IE, Opera, Jim said it works with Chrome.
You're just looking for the one that won't work on it.
Right. Well, as long as
Find
you.
a Russian browser it doesn't work
Exactly,
on,
right.
fine. But, you know, if we hit the ones that 99% of everyone uses,
I have a coworker in Russia, I got him to send me a photo of his keyboard, it's pretty funny. At least it doesn't say best viewed with, because I think that any webmaster should have his license revoked for having text on the website that says best viewed with in the name of a browser.
Oh. I could put I was gonna put a counter on it. I did that with one of my websites down south, and then I found out my daughter saw it. And she wanted to see how high she could make the counter go. We thought we had 550 hits, and if we had 2, we'd be lucky.
I think a counter would be
Motion or-
discouraging.
No, the policy gives me complete discretion, like I said.
Which we're gonna fix in 100.
So what is your target date for moving it live?
Next week?
Probably a week, yeah, I don't know what we're waiting for. I mean,
And then just kind of update it throughout.
and then we can update
Then everybody
it
can
if
see
I
it.
get input from
Get
people that they
comments.
want to see
Yeah.
a tab called documents, you know, I'll add that and start doing that, so.
One of the problems we're gonna run into is because I wrote the existing site using PHP, the home page isn't the standard index.html, it's home.php. And there's a bunch of people out there that just don't understand, and I've seen published our URL as ending with the home.php, and that never should have been published that way, and I've usually gone after people and asked them to fix it. But you may have to, well, once you've loaded the new website onto our host, then I'll go futz with home.php and redirect it to the new site. So it'll be, actually, I'm gonna put up a message saying, change your bookmark and drop the home.php. And we'll have to sit there and
Alright.
stare at that for 15 seconds before
Alright.
they get to the new site.
I don't understand everything you said, but okay.
Hey, I handwrite HTML with a text editor.
Exactly.
Okay, let's move to item 3, consideration of LAFCO approval of reorganization into a community services district with parks and recreation powers and next steps. Item A, report from the general manager on the status of the application.
Okay.
Can we say the protest hearing was a non-event?
Yes, I was trying to see if we listed that separately, we didn't. So we had the official LAFCO protest hearing last night held at the Granada Auditorium with about 100 seats set out. And we had a standing room crowd of about 5.
Huh? No, it was 6.
6?
It was
Okay.
Matthew, you, me,
David?
Dave, Louis Fagoni, and some other guy.
Okay, I've been
But
to our meeting
I've seen him
before.
around town, but I don't know where.
Right, so needless to say, there was no protest at the meeting itself. As it turns out, there was one protest slip dropped off at the LAFCO office. So there's officially one protest to the formation. So, but, you know, obviously Martha, the commission wasn't even there because they didn't need to be there because it wasn't a discretionary action. So Martha closed the public hearing and the process is now approved to go forward to the June 2nd or 3rd.
Well, the motion that they passed specifically delegated authority to conduct the protest hearing to the executive director.
Right.
They have to formally delegate it.
Right, and they did that at their January.
Right.
Right. So that's the good news. We are moving forward. No, I mean, we didn't think there'd be a 50% protest. It wasn't even close. So.
Well, I would have lost my betting pool on that one.
All right.
All right, item B, consideration of draft short-term agreement with County Parks Department for interim provision of parks and recreation services. And
Yeah, where's the agreement? There's no agreement in here. What?
You're looking at it.
See this one that starts with the word agreement?
But it doesn't say anything.
This is based on the same.
You got it.
Similarly, on the agreement we had with the RCD and
This says even less.
Farm County Farm Bureau.
This says even less.
Well, you know who didn't draft it then.
I have one thing that I sort of forgot about most of the time. I've been thinking about it for a while, but I keep forgetting to bring it up.
Before you go into there, I just want to report
Well,
on.
it's regarding this agreement.
Oh, I just want to finish my thing though. So I did send this to the county and I did get an email back from Marlene Finley, who was the county parks director, who ran it by her legal counsel, who said it looks great to them, so,
Have you met her yet?
yes.
I asked her to come out here to one of our meetings and introduce herself to this board, which she said she would do. My concern on this is the county is spending parks mitigation fee money currently on implementing the action plan. And if they are gonna have us take over in our territory implementing the action plan, they need to give us the money that they would have spent doing it.
Okay, I don't know what that's got to do with this agreement.
Well, everything.
That's a future item that we will talk about sometime. This is just like you said, the RCD, which is just, we will talk to them about budgets and stuff like that. We can talk about that at the budget, but this document wouldn't delineate how much money the county is gonna donate to us. And
Yeah, I don't
this
even-
is just that
I don't
starting
even
thing.
know what that delineates that, yeah.
Yeah, so
Well-
this is fine for me, just to,
Not donate, transfer.
or put it on the park bench and let us pick it up. But I think this is fine, I think.
Yeah, and I think it takes into account the fact that we don't, we haven't started the Parks and Recs process yet, so we don't know what projects we'll be doing. We don't know what level of help they're gonna be giving us and whatnot. And she and I talked about that and set up choosing agreement, so.
Well, I've always been assuming that part of the agreement with the county would be that we would essentially hire through them some of their staff to do the field work here.
And that's kind of what we contemplated too, and if we do any park planning, they've got planners on staff there, so we utilize that, so we talked about that, but until we start looking at actual projects and things like that, I can't crystal ball what exactly they'll be doing for us, so, but we've kind of envisioned the same thing, yeah.
Because, that's clearly gonna be more efficient than hiring our own people, although some of the stuff could be done by local contractors, basic construction work.
Right, but they'll be able to guide, lend us their expertise, so. So with that being said, I'd recommend your board approve this agreement, and we can send it on to the county for their approval, and keep the process moving along.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second it?
Any further discussion?
Although I'm not sure it meets the minimum font size requirement.
Who seconded that?
Me,
Rick?
all 6 whereases.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 3C, consideration of whether and how to submit argument in favor of ballot measure for reorganization and rebuttal to any argument against.
That's a mouthful.
Yes.
Well, how, Martha doesn't know this, she said contact county elections. How do they, if multiple arguments are submitted, I think they have a pecking order for how they pick which argument they select.
Yes, they do. And the first in the pecking order is the legislative body of an affected agency or any authorized member or members of the legislative body. Next is individual voters or association of citizens or a combination of voters and associations.
All right, so in that case, I think that this board should, submit an argument in favor, because that'll be the one picked. And I actually have a really big name lined up to co-sign it. I'll mention that when we get closer to that.
And what's
agree.
what's the timing on this, Jonathan?
It appears to be March 14th is the deadline, so it's not that far away.
Is that 88 days before the election?
No, yeah, I think that's March 7th.
20, yeah, that's March 7th.
Yeah.
Now,
It's 81 days before the election.
what about the rebuttal to the argument against?
That-
I personally want to write and sign the rebuttal. We can put Matthew's name on the argument in favor, but I want to write the rebuttal.
Or we could put the board's name on it.
Whatever.
So
Can you do that? I thought it
since-
had to be individual names.
Somebody just said the legislative body could do it.
Yeah, and the rebuttal says that the authors of so if there's an argument against, a copy of the argument against is sent to the authors of the argument in favor. The authors may prepare and submit rebuttal arguments not exceeding 250 words, or may authorize in writing any other person or persons to prepare a rebuttal argument.
So when we get closer to that, actually, we're not that far off.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, we probably need to decide now how we're gonna handle that, because we want our board meetings at the right time to deal with it.
Yeah, so, go ahead.
We need to do this, the argument by the 14th of March. What's the timeframe for the rebuttal after you receive the argument against?
10 days, if I recall.
I thought it was a week.
Well, that's up to the schedule established by the clerk, I believe, because I'm not seeing it here in the,
Martha told us last night it was on the county election website.
yeah, that's where we got the March 14th. So I'm not sure.
Well, yeah, so
We
All right,
could
so
maybe you could
do-
research that, or y'all get Billy on it now?
So we need to come up with a plan then, so it could actually, as a signatory, it could actually say the board without having to have individual names? I don't recall ever seeing one without individual names.
It says that the argument can be by the legislative body. But if that's going to happen, then this legislative body is going to have to approve it, and that's going to
How we
happen
do that?
before March 14th.
So you would either, you either have to have a special board meeting, or more likely, because it'd be more nimble, you could appoint an ad hoc committee to draft it with input from.
No, I'm not available.
Just go ahead and put the chart on
The week of March 9th. So, yeah, so that runs through the 14th.
I think Chuck's suggestion is appropriate. We should have an ad hoc committee to work with council and the general manager on the argument. And probably leaving out anybody who can't be here at the last minute when we need to make the final changes.
Let's just write it in advance. Let's write it the week before.
I don't think, well, yeah, I guess that precludes comments, input from others, huh?
Right?
Well, if all of us are emailing back and forth on this item,
I don't know that we can do that.
exactly.
Probably just leave the committee.
Can they form the committee and get input without going back and forth?
Oh, I don't see how they could.
Yeah, that's sketchy.
I would trust the committee because,
Yeah, and
we know what we're gonna say, and then we need to read the rebuttal, and then we just refute.
yeah, I think
It's not-
everyone knows, and I can't remember who I was talking to, but, I've written 20
Yeah.
versions of why this is a good idea, which I would send to the committee. and
Just
they
for this
could-
application.
Right, exactly. And you could just kind of cull the herd to get it down to 300 words. So I'm sure some of them I have are already 300 words because I need brevity. So I'd probably, and this is not my spot, but I don't want to put work on you, Matthew, but it'd be nice to have you as one of the signatories as the board president, right?
Okay.
So maybe you're one of the ad hoc committee members, and then maybe Jim is ex-MTL guy or something.
You get 4 signatures, up to 4?
Right, but it's gonna be signed by
Well,
President.
let's hold one of those for the big name person that I will name later.
Oh, I went two.
Well,
Or would they be signing on, would the ad hoc committee draft it on behalf of the board?
yes, as the
As-
authorized
Representative?
representatives of the
Okay.
board.
So then it
But
doesn't matter.
I'm hearing Director Warren envision that there would be, that the signatories for the argument would be this committee and an individual voter. And I don't read the statute as authorizing that.
Would it be okay to have Matthew as president signing the famous unnamed individual?
I
So it's
thought-
just- It's just two signatures.
I thought that you always get four, so if one of them is the board. does
Yeah, I
that
think the
still leave-
difference is, if one of them is the board, you don't get four.
Ah,
Then it's the board.
okay.
Then it's whatever the board appointed, or the board itself.
Well, strategically, do we think it'd be better to say it's from the board or from the board president? I guess I would lean toward the board.
Well, if you want this extra person though, can it be, if it's the board, then does that exclude the special guest?
I would say yes.
Yeah,
reading
that's what
the
I'm
way
worried
this is
about.
done.
I'd be happy with Matthew as president, with his title, and then the special guest, and the guest secretary.
Okay.
Well, so if Matthew's doing that, he is not doing it as the authorized member of the board. Because if he is, then that's the only signatory, the way I read this. Because it's, the second category is the one that says, or a combination of voters and associations, not a combination of legislative bodies or members thereof and associations or and voters. The only time you get a combination is when you have a combination of individual voters or association of citizens.
Can Matthew have his title? Matthew Clark,
Yes.
president from the sanitary district.
Yeah, they may make you say, in his individual capacity, president, so you can give your title, who you are,
Okay.
but as soon as you say you are the appointee of the board, then it appears that it's only, we can follow up on this, I guess, but the problem is you needed to decide tonight. And I can tell you, it sure looks pretty clear to me that that's how you would interpret it.
If that's what you're saying, I'd be happy with Matthew with his title and as an individual.
And let them, and if they want to add, if they make us add in his individual capacity,
Yeah,
that's their business.
That's their
not ours.
business.
Right.
But one other thing you need to understand is that as soon as it gets past the legislative body or the appointed or authorized members, then the decision is, let's say there are 3 arguments submitted, we don't have control over who's going to submit arguments, then the elections official decides which argument to use. So
Well,
you could have Matthew and the special guest, and the elections official may choose a different argument that was made, and you have no control over that. The only time you have control is if it's the legislative body or authorized representative.
All right, but realistically, I can't imagine
Yeah, it's
uncoordinated competing arguments in favor. I think
But-
once
but maybe
people
that's-
see that there's going to be an argument signed by the board president, and a big name to be named later, I think that we won't have an issue with competing arguments.
That's a decision for the board. I'm just pointing out what the,
I'm fine
The
with
legal
that.
setting is.
I think-
Yeah, I agree
Leonard.
with Leonard on that one. I don't think that there will be competing
yeah.
pro arguments
Now-
coming forth.
Um,
But we could have 4 signatures if we do it this way.
I don't know the answer to that because it doesn't say. And so I guess that's an individual policy of the local elections official.
Uh-huh.
It seems to me that every proposition I've ever seen, they have, I think it's 4, is it 5? I think it's 4 signatures.
So that's usually in the state ballot pamphlet.
Right.
But, that they may have different rules for that. I'll just point that out. I don't know
I
the
see.
answer, so.
Uh,
We might in the,
All right, so what I would propose is that we approve this as a conditional, that if we can get two names on there, that it would be Matthew as board president and the other name. And if in fact, for this measure, we can only have one name on there, then it should be the GSD governing board. Does that work for everybody? In other words, the contingency plan.
Well, if you say the GSD governing board, then the board is going to have a special meeting. I mean, and that may not be a problem, but in other words, to approve whatever argument it is.
But
Okay.
if Matthew's
I
on
don't
the
think
committee,
that's a problem.
I'm willing to delegate right now the authority to write it without it having to come back to the board for final approval.
Should we ask council to clarify anything that's not clear about, with the election,
Yeah.
the clerk?
I
Like
think
how
you-
many signatures we can have?
Yeah, I think you make your motion that allows you to write it, or you and Jim as a committee, and then you to sign it as board president, then we'll see if they make you modify that somehow. And then Jonathan or Ryan can go talk to the county people, and if something pops up that gives them pause, they can send it around in an email saying, here's what we found out. Does your board want to have a board meeting then?
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
does
Sure.
that sound good?
Yeah.
All right. So
Okay.
someone want to turn that to a motion?
I so
Jim-
moved that.
Yeah.
All right.
Jim, have you accepted this position?
Well, I can, you know, sure, I mean, if
Okay.
I don't, I can, happy to do that.
Okay.
So why don't the first motion, why don't you, or it's not a motion, why don't you appoint yourself and Jim as a ad hoc committee? Okay?
I think I'll appoint myself and Jim as an ad hoc
That's a great
committee
motion.
to write the argument.
Well, I mean, you are actually not becoming authorized members of the legislative body because you don't want to be that, right? Because you
Right.
want to have, right?
It's still just an ad hoc committee though, right? Or no?
I would almost think it's preferable just to have them go do it.
Okay, all right.
Let's go do it now.
Yeah.
But if,
Forget that committee stuff.
if in fact, for a local measure, if we're only allowed one signature, which I don't think is the case, but if we're only allowed one signature, then I think it'd be better if it, say, the GSD board.
Well, I think it's clear that if we're skipping the first category, which is the legislative body or authorized members, and now we're down to the second category.
Okay, but what I'm
Individual
saying
voters
is, what I'm
can
saying
have
is,
more than one.
but I'm saying we don't,
It's more than one voter.
You can have more than one voter
All
or
right.
association.
so then we know you can, so then part of my contingency is not relevant. Because, yeah, okay, so the implication there is you can have more than one. So if it's two, then it would be board president and the big name. And if it's more than two,
It's four, right?
it's probably four.
No, it is four, he's saying it is four.
Oh,
If you go into
okay.
the individual route, it is four.
Well, I'm not sure it's four. That could be a local,
Oh,
but
okay.
it's certainly more than one, and it's,
I'd rather keep it simple.
yeah.
Well, if it's four, I would like Jim Blanchard, who could put board president of Midcoast Parklands. Because you always see titles written on these things.
But what I'm trying to say at this point is if you're going the route of not being authorized by this board, then I don't think you should decide that, you know, in other words, now it's just gonna be the independent activity of our president as an individual, but he can name his title, and he can work with, he's heard that it'd be good if he worked with Jim. He can work with other people. It's because you are
You have
not.
nothing to do with it.
Yeah, you have nothing to do with it. As soon as you start to have something to do with it, I become concerned that it will be considered an authorized
Right.
committee, at which point, that's all you get. You don't get the extra person, the special person.
So we
So-
could let Matthew go rogue.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
So then let me ask
Oh,
this.
boy.
If it's not an action of the board, does the Brown Act apply to that work? If it's gonna
Yes,
be,
I would,
if it's gonna be submitted independently from the board,
But it's two board members talking about business that
the
affects
board.
the
Yeah.
district. I mean, it's, 2 is okay, but
You're,
it's
so
not.
you're saying that in its final form that we'll submit, then doesn't have to be approved by the board?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So the reality is, the best thing to do is take no action. You can go talk to the county elections people, and if you find out something that raises flags,
Tell
we'll
them
kick
the
it back to
dollar
you
amount,
guys, and, you know, if you feel the need, we'll hold a special meeting.
Yeah.
So have we achieved no action?
Full circle.
Now, what
It's our
about-
usual 20 minutes of discussion to take no action.
What about the rebuttal? Can we more or less handle that the same way?
Yes. In fact,
I'll have
you
fun writing the
almost
minutes
have
for
to at
this.
that point, because the authors are the ones then that have control of it.
But I really urge the board that I should be involved in writing the rebuttal.
But we're not taking any action, so.
Okay.
Well, we may have, if the argument, it has to be in on the 14th, is that the same deadline for the argument against?
Yes.
And our next meeting's the 17th. We could consider that at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Is our next board meeting the 17th, or does the 20th?
It would be the same day as it is this
Yes,
month, actually.
In February? Except
But
once
I'm
every
sure
4
it
years.
can't be due that
That's April.
fast. It just can't be due
Oh,
that fast.
no wonder, wrong month, the 20th. Okay, well, let's hope that gives us
Something
time then
happens
to have
March
a meeting
22nd.
before the rebuttal has to be submitted.
If we have, to, like I
Nothing comes
said,
to my
if we
mind.
have to have a
March
special meeting,
22nd,
let's
maybe?
do it.
Yeah, we can do that.
Figure it out.
All right.
All right, 3D, further directions to general manager. Does the general
Have
manager
anything?
need any,
I think we're good, right?
Yeah, I can't think of anything we need to add to this.
Yeah, I think we're good.
By the way, for those directors who didn't know about the date of the protest hearing, it's in the minutes from last month.
okay. Item 4, consideration of agreement with Kennedy Jenks Consultants for district engineering services. Oh, excuse me, I had one other question for Chuck on item 3. Have we heard anything from Half Moon Bay about the agreement?
Yes, well, that happened after our last meeting. Yes, they approved it. So they approved our agreement at their, whatever, January 22nd meeting or something like that. Yes, I'm glad you reminded me.
And did we already approve it?
We already approved it.
Yeah, okay.
You gotta figure they would have to approve it because it means they're getting free money.
Yes, okay.
But nothing from the school district, right?
Still nothing
Yeah.
from the school district.
Are we asking them again, or we sort of just giving
At
up?
this point in time.
I thought that Rick was
Rick
gonna
had
work
something,
that.
yeah, but I'm not, we're not, I mean, it's going through the vote of the people at this point in time, so.
Right.
It'd be nice to get the school district support.
Support.
Rick, is there gonna be a
We'll ask
school
her.
district tax thing on June illegally?
As near as I can tell, yes.
Illegally?
I haven't seen a ballot, so I don't really know.
Well, tax
We
things.
also got something from somebody anyway, that I thought that MWSD was putting something on as well in June.
Yeah, what? What would they be putting on?
I think it was a bond, I'm not sure.
Really?
I have to go back and I'll send it around.
Luckily, it's a completely different group of people.
Does that mean I have to start watching their 3-hour meetings?
All right, let's now move to item number 4, consideration of agreement with Kennedy Jenks Consultants for district engineering services.
So nothing much has changed, just a signature page and whatnot. We would like to, however, change the effective date to be the first day of February 2014, because the previous agreement lapsed on January 31st, yeah.
Move to approve with that amendment.
Page 4, second.
Second.
Let Jim be the second.
We actually need a motion and vote for that amendment?
Yes. Well, it's going to be approved as amended. So the minutes will say approved.
That's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any discussion about rehiring KJ?
I think KJ does good work, no reason to reconsider.
I agree, personally. So,
Call the vote.
to approve the agreement.
Aye.
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 Anyone opposed?
For Kennedy Jenks?
Yes.
Did you say no?
Not opposed.
Why is the paragraph for the general manager contract longer than the paragraph for engineering?
He does more.
Because there's a discussion about the term management services being added.
All right, now we're on item 5, consideration of agreement with Dudek for general manager services. And,
So where does it say web in here?
Web? Well, that's why I changed it slightly, because we are to do some stuff like this minor web thing, and also Paula, who's my district administrator down there, has been helping Erin and Delia transition to a new version of QuickBooks. So that's the reason I changed that, but the agreement's a change other than that. And we have to make the same correction to this one as we did Kennedy Jenks, so it takes effect February 1st. And now we commence the long, uncomfortable silence.
Everybody's
I was
staring
gonna
at the
put
ceiling.
that actually in my recommendation, but I figured that's gonna happen anyway, so.
well, let's see, what's anybody from Dudek done for us lately?
As KJ sails through, as Whitmer sails through.
I move.
I will move that we,
God bless
oh,
you.
go ahead.
I move approval of the contract for general manager services with the amendment as stated.
Really, Leonard, did you look at the attachment and the font size?
So this is a new 3-year contract?
Yes.
What,
Do we have a second, or,
can we discuss it?
yes?
The second.
What, I'm just wondering how the 3-year term was chosen as opposed to 2 years or anything.
Well, there's actually a provision in here somewhere that you can terminate my services in 30 days. So it could be 2 years, it could be 1 year, it could be 3 years.
Paragraph 4, early termination.
Either side can do that.
Yes.
And so this is our, and this is your first time to see this, so this
Yeah,
is
yeah.
our standard consultants agreement.
Yeah.
So it's, Jonathan has the same agreement as Kennedy Jenks, has the same agreement as myself, obviously, just with the different duties. But all the other provisions are the same, they're all 3-year agreements. They all have a 30-day cancellation provision in each one.
Okay.
I'm just wondering why it's written for a fixed term then, if it can be canceled at any time on 30
Well,
days notice.
What's interesting, I don't know. I don't know if you've got the answer to that.
Suppose they assign check to
Is
some
is
other
that,
word.
is that just so you
Those
can
pesky other clients.
raise the rates every 3 years?
Well, it fixes your rates for 3 years.
Right.
So,
That's a good thing.
and we actually didn't do a rate, some people do that, some of the engineers might have increased their rates, but we didn't do a rate increase. So. And as I like to point out, I am the cheapest guy you hire. So,
And I think the reason, you want to have a term in there so that it does end at some point, even if
It
nobody.
has to be reviewed no matter what.
Yeah.
Right.
And we only get to give him grief every 3 years by staring at the
It
ceiling.
seems so much quicker.
It does.
And some of us may recall some other contract at a related agency that had an automatic renewal clause. If the board took no action, it automatically renewed.
I slipped that in here too.
He didn't, we
I'm
reviewed it.
joking. So I actually sent this to Jonathan, so it had another set of eyes looking at
So
it.
now who reviews the agreement for legal services?
I do.
And he's tough.
And they're sitting next to each other, too.
I think we found the problem.
And just along the same lines, has there been a discussion in the past about looking at what it would look like to transition to a full-time person, and then also how anything would change with getting the parks power in terms of any type of transition, looking out long-term in terms of.
There's been no discussion of the full-time position just because
Because it's not a full-time position.
Yeah, the
It's not a
job is a
full-time job.
full-time position. That's the reason you were hired. And I have the exact same kind of engagement down in Southern California. All 3 districts are small and they don't need a full-time general manager. Certainly when Parks and Recs comes online, it won't be this year, but a year from now or 2 years from now, that's something the board could look at, so.
Okay, yeah.
I think, if it gets to the point where Chuck says it's taking too much of this time, then we will have the discussion, but I don't see any reason to have the discussion before then.
Right, well, yeah, it's not an issue now, certainly.
Yeah.
So Leonard moved, I think Rick seconded.
I'll call the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I think.
Okay.
How you doing on frequent flyer miles?
Quite well. So that's gonna go down.
All right, item number 6, consideration of report and ongoing issues by District Sewer Authority Mid-Coast Side representatives.
Well, gee, we had.
Sam, how many
Closed
special
session.
meetings? 4?
Well, one of them was a lunch with the leading candidate, is that fair, Rick?
Sure.
Because we wanted to talk to them in a more informal setting than a board meeting interview. We wanted to get a feel for his personality. So I think at this point, I'm not sure how much is appropriate to say other than
Nothing?
we are moving along.
Yes, I think that's a good thing.
And didn't we have a regular board meeting in here somewhere?
It's way back in the back there in this section, January 27th.
So we did officer rotation, since we don't have somebody squatting on the chair's position anymore.
I'd like to add to that, since back in the past, the review and other people said how awful SAM people are and how they can never work together. We zipped through that in kind of record time with massive agreement and goodwill and backslapping and congratulations, and it was good to see that in general, SAM on the budget and a whole bunch of other things is moving along at a very nice pace, I would say.
Now, we did have this OPEB, and I don't know that I can tell you what that stands for. I bet Chuck knows.
Other pension, other post-employee benefits?
Yeah, that's it. So we had some, what the heck was he, an actuarial or?
It was really fun.
Yeah.
Well, you can expect that in the next 5 years, 4 of your employees will be dead and 2 of your.
Well, you've never seen a staff report more jam-packed with acronyms than that staff report. And I almost fell out of my chair when the guy said, and hopefully your employees will die at the right time in the right order. Like, what? Did he really say that?
He's an
So
expert.
the other post-employment benefits is addressing when people retire and they continue to receive health care, board members continue to receive health care, which is a hot issue now. I don't know if it's in this paper in itself, where they found out that, someone served as a director for 4 years at some water district, and 30 years later, they're still getting their health care paid for. In one case, it was her grandson's health care paid for. She had passed away.
That would be the Harbor District of San Mateo County.
Okay? So now they're making them report this as a liability on the books. So.
And Assemblyman Mullen has a bill somewhere in progress, I don't know the actual status, to clamp down on all that silly business.
All right.
Would it be within bounds for this board to support the bill formally?
Yes, this board can take actions to support legislation or oppose
You're not gonna
legislation.
cut off my head.
All right, so I'm going to look into the status of that bill, and I may ask for something on the next agenda.
Okay.
So I'll point out that in the SAM minutes, it says, Director Alifano acknowledged Director Warren for his good job as chair.
Yeah, see, this is how friendly and fun you guys are now.
Except for Rick's faux pas in calling Alan Mike.
It's a compliment.
Oh, well.
He looks so youthful.
I'd like to ask, when I was the regular, I brought up this, why is there no rain gauge functioning at the Portola pump station? And I see it through January, it still hasn't been replaced.
All right, we're going to have to bring that up. What's the meeting? Is that in 2 days? Yeah, in a few days. So one of us is going to have to remember to ask about that.
You can do that.
Yeah.
Also, another notable thing at the meeting is a group of people from the adjacent community, the Casa del Mar subdivision, showed up and spoke to the board. I actually had this agendized because I knew in advance that they wanted to do this. And so the Kehoe water course, which I told them if they want my attention, they can stop calling it a ditch, runs through property that Sam bought some years back. And basically, they want the city to relocate the water course more central in that Sam-owned property.
Oh, it's not right on the boundary?
It runs close to one edge and then it sort of veers off and runs at the edge. And it's actually possible that some of the neighbors' property lines are in the creek channel or maybe even on the other side of the creek channel. I haven't looked at a parcel map as it relates to the current location of the creek, but it's actually kind of interesting. And one of the objections that I have to calling it a ditch is there's 1860 maps that show it. It's just that the subdivider moved it for his convenience. And so, you know, as I've stated publicly, the only difference between a stream and a ditch is that a ditch is an inconveniently located stream.
Unless you're a developer in the 1860s.
I think the subdivision was
Yeah.
done much later than that.
Oh, yeah.
So I believe they're going to be coming back soon. I don't know if it's going to be on the February agenda or March, but they're going to come back soon with more specifics. This was a preliminary discussion to see if there was conceptual agreement at the SAM board for doing it. And so I would say that we gave them
We gave conceptual approval.
Yeah.
Several people said, yeah, let's talk about that.
yeah, we basically
There's the
told them.
idea of this could be rerouted more into Sam property, and lots of clever things, including restoring wetlands, might be done with this, and it's wide open, and there could be some really nice things done with this, and solve everybody's problems. We can be good neighbors, we could build some more wetlands in the Delta area, and so we said, yeah, let's look at it.
Yeah, so basically, we left it as, come back with a bit more of specifics, which fairly certain they're gonna do reasonably soon. So I think that might be it. Anything else?
Yeah, that was the big one.
Okay, we have gotten to consent. Would anyone like to discuss any items on the consent agenda? Hearing none, I'll,
All right, I have to turn to the right page in my agenda here. I move approval of item 7, special and regular meeting minutes for January 16, 2014. Item 8, approval of February 2014 warrants for $132,764.88. Item 9, approval of January 2014 financial statements. Item 10, approval of assessment district distribution number 7-13/14 for $3,330.50. Item 11, approval of resolution approving preliminary amended reassessments, ordering hearing, and directing actions with respect thereto.
Director Warren asked item 7, I am assuming you are including the revised page that was handed out today for the minutes.
Yeah, with the replacement page that was supplied.
Which, yeah, simply corrected the director's titles.
And I have to say that this is the first time that amended reassessment thing's been on consent.
Yes.
It's gotten really boring, hasn't it?
Director Seaton's benefit, I'll just say that is, item 11 is sort of confusing, but it's something we do every year. When people change parcel lines or merge or split parcels, they get reassessed, and that affects us because of property taxes and contingent assessments, and so we do this every year, and it's cut and dried enough that we finally decided to put it on consent. So-
It does require a public hearing, however, and the reassessment is not an increase in assessment, it's just putting the assessments on the right parcels. And
Correct, right.
The reassessment is us playing catch-up to reconfigurations the county has already approved, and then the reassessment just has to redistribute how much we're assessing in an appropriate manner across the new parcel configuration.
This item includes a resolution, and by doing it as consent, we're also passing this resolution, correct?
yes.
All right.
But
Did we have a second?
You pointed that out.
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Thank you. Item 12, reports on seminars, conferences, or committee meetings. Have we any?
At the January 22nd Midcoast Council meeting, it was held at the Maverick Event Center, and it was all about parks on the coast side. And there were people there from county parks, the new parks director, what's her name, Marlene Finley. Somebody there from National Park Service for GGNRA, and State Parks. Yeah, I don't remember who was there from State Parks, but there was somebody. And I have to get PCT to rerun the video of that because I only caught the last showing of it, and the last showing, the sound was missing for the last half hour. But that was.
Please tell me you didn't watch anyway.
But I do save it to DVD and check
You
to
were
make
there
sure it's
too,
good.
right?
So that was a very well-attended meeting, and what I got a kick out of was a guy that I've never seen before standing up from the back of the room and suggesting that we do little parks on the Burnham Strip medians and saying, make no little plans, quoting Daniel Burnham. And I don't know who this guy is, but we need to track him down.
That's good.
So that was a good meeting, and it's worth it if everybody watches the video when I get PCT to run it again.
So I take it the consensus, I mean, everybody was there saying, yes, parks, okay, let's have some.
Yep.
You know, there weren't any naysayers. Okay, any other reports? Item 13, attorney's report.
No report.
Item 14, treasurer's report.
I was just gonna, if Chuck, or just to clarify the $249,000 ERAF payment, just for my own knowledge. Anyone else out there, just the details of that?
Yeah, I wish that were a
Just as
simple
just
one,
came
but.
Okay.
So we get property tax each year, from the 1%, that share of the 1%, and over the past,
Our sliver of the 1%.
24 years, they have this thing called ERAF, which is Educational Relief Augmentation Fund. So basically what they're doing is they're taking some of the property tax that we've historically gotten, and they're repurposing it, as they call it.
Stealing.
Stealing. And they send it over to the schools and whatnot. So there's been 3 rounds of this ERAF in various years.
But I think the number that David is referring to
I'm not gonna
is-
get to that. So for instance, this year, we should have gotten roughly $850,000 in property tax. Because of these ERAFs, we only get $480,000 in property tax. Now, to make it more complicated, there's 2 counties in the state of California, San Mateo and one other I can't think of off the top of my head.
Is it Marin?
It's Marin, yeah, that have legislation written into the legislation that says, we're gonna do all these calculations, and at the end of the day, if I do this calculation, there's, we've over,
It caps how much they can.
caps how
convert.
much they can take, and we get a bunch of it back. That $249,000 is what we get back, and it's a number I put a guess in the budget, but it's for the most part, a complete guess, because it's just random, so.
Because every year
That's what
we
that
have,
249 is, that's a refund from a previous year's ERAF transfer.
let's put it in these terms. Every year, we have no idea how much, if any, we're gonna get until they send us the check.
It's a nice little surprise, though, right?
Usually.
And some years we have.
So,
gotten
okay, so it's basically just kind of a surplus they'll do, otherwise things get tight, we don't get it. or-
Yeah, and, yeah, and we've gotten it every year, but it's just the strangest thing I've seen. I've gotten 2 checks for 1 year, I don't know why. I tried to dive into it, but the Byzantine world of property tax reallocation in California, so, bless you.
Okay, yeah, appreciate it. And then the other thing I was just gonna, it was interesting, just because I was going through things with bank, looking through the account, it was just interesting to see the $149 service charge from Wells Fargo with such, it seems like such a good relationship to me. I feel like,
And
that's.
what's that for, Diddy? Do you know?
As a business account, they charge us based on the amount of activity they have, and it's some percentage.
I'm just wondering if it's negotiable, because bank fees are negotiable. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it-
what's interesting, we used to use, not at this district, but another district, Union Bank. And
Yeah.
all of a sudden, they started charging us, all these
Really, it
fees
just,
that you couldn't calculate, and literally got up to $450. Yeah, that's why we left Union
Huh.
Bank, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we switched banks some small number of years ago. I never asked why.
It's been a long time now.
Yeah.
2003, we went from BOA to Wells Fargo.
Not long ago. So why did we switch?
I don't recall.
probably the fees.
And we're not as, generally, districts are not big a benefit, because there's state law that says if we deposit $200,000, they've actually got to collateralize that with 110% of that $200,000 number. So, most people, you give them $200,000,
Yeah.
they can relend it and make money on it.
Okay,
And now
so
they've got
there
to set
is-
aside fixed collateralization. So I've always wondered why they don't
Yeah, I
charge
mean, it
us
should be,
more.
yeah.
So they don't, so.
I'll charge you 100. I promise I'll keep the money.
So that's why.
Okay.
All right, general manager's report,
I've got nothing further.
administrator's report. Delia, anything to
So
say?
one thing I just want to mention is that the old trash cans that were replaced by the new ones have been picked up as of today, and the furniture that's been dumped out on the burn strip lot here at the skateboard ramp, that has all been removed.
So do the old trash cans get recycled?
Right.
I don't know,
They fold them up and put them in the nutrient can.
Why don't you mention what's in here on the second page for our viewing audience?
Well, what I have in the administrative report is that we basically replaced the very unsightly plastic barrels we've had out in the beach areas to serve the public for garbage disposal. We've replaced them with some nice new ones that have concrete bases. They're made out of recycled milk jugs, and they have, a dome top on them, and they will not be as prone to, or they won't blow away in the wind. The problem that we've had with the plastic ones in the past, so, and hopefully they'll stay in place.
Well, hopefully he can zoom in on the photo here.
Right, we have two on our private property, the Granada strip lot. We have two out at Surface Beach, and we have three actually on Granada Road in Miramar.
Now, what about the recycle bins at the end of West Point that have been falling apart for many years?
I don't know much about those. I don't think they're being serviced. I don't think they're really used, and they probably should be used for that.
Seacoast was supposed to maintain them, and I think they stopped doing that. Those were obtained on a grant that Gina took care of. But it's unsightly, and we need to either replace them or remove them, because they're probably not repairable at this point. And there were also another set put at the Princeton pump station, which was a totally pointless location. Probably. Yeah. But I think that we need to look for appropriate locations. I'd kind of like to have us consider putting a can out in front of the post office. So I don't know, is that something that staff can just look into?
Yeah.
So no board action would really be required on that?
You promise not to fire me if I do it.
Why are you suggesting this?
Because I grew up in places where there's public trash cans all over the place, and it's kind of annoying that there aren't here.
The trash, there are trash cans in the post office inside.
Well, theoretically, those are just for recycling your paper mail.
That's where most of the trash there goes.
Well, I would like to see us do trash cans with small openings on top so people don't throw their household stuff in there. But, if you're walking along with a cup in your hand, you want to get rid of it somewhere, that's the problem. So something for staff to consider.
Across the street, by the hardware store, yeah, a better spot. Do that, yeah.
I'll look around and see where there might be an appropriate place.
And I think State Parks provides it along the path down in Miramar, so we probably don't need to be looking over there.
I think I need to call San Francisco and ask them to provide some for their bus stops, because I noticed the bus stops are pretty littered up.
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think they'll provide the service
Right.
and so,
Do we have any of the doggy waste stations in Miramar? We ought to somehow reach out to that part of our constituency and see if there's one or two locations there that they would like to see those installed.
I'm not sure how we can do that.
Don't call me, I don't have a dog.
I'll try and report on that.
Well, I don't know, maybe if we ever do another newsletter.
Someplace along the coast trail at Murata Surf. Right, a lot of people take dogs out there.
The county has something at the Magellan end of that trail.
For dogs?
Oh, yeah, they have recycle bins there. Yeah, maybe we need to put a doggy waste thing next to their recycle bins.
It's difficult for, I think, the colleges to pick those up. They have to park somewhere and then walk in. I'm just not really sure how that would work.
Well, put it close to Magellan.
Yeah, it's possible. I can check with them.
Tell them we'll do it if they agree to waive all the fees. I'm not kidding.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Delia. Engineers report. Chuck, you have any comments?
Nothing further. As I reported, John has started the design phase of the CIP sewer replacement, so well into that.
So how much 1920 pipe do we still have left? I thought we replaced a whole bunch of
10,000
it.
feet.
Didn't we just replace a whole bunch of it?
We replaced a bunch, yeah, but there's 10,000 feet more. So-
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
Some of them actually are really good.
Yeah. So it's not all, not everything we're replacing is, I'm always amazed, you know, in certain areas. There's still guys who, and these aren't old school guys, who swear by clay. As I say, if it's in the right area with the right soil around it and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah, but that's probably not here.
it's pretty impervious, so.
I have a question about, the district engineer wrote here about how the construction on the CIP for sewer replacement is estimated to begin this summer and be completed by the end of the year. Does he mean a certain portion of it? He must. The highest priorities?
I think it means this year's worth of the CIP.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. That's, yeah, because if, I don't see why a 6-year CIP would be completed by the end of the year.
Oh, I see what you're saying, no.
Yeah.
Really needs to be targeted for completion before the rainy season in the hope that we actually have one.
Indeed. Okay, we made it to the agenda. Comments? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Okay, Chuck, what time did I say?
8:15.
And then I revised it?
I already heard 8:15.
What time did I revise it to, Chuck?
Yeah, but the problem is you have sole
8:45, we got
control
another
of the
minute to
length
go.
of the